How to pass a drug test. Perhaps you work for a company that requires routine standard drug tests, or perhaps a drug test is a condition of a legal settlement. A drug test might use a sample of your urine, hair, blood, or saliva. It is to your personal and professional benefit to test negative for drugs in your system. The best way to pass a drug test by far is to understand how long drugs remain in your system and discontinue drug use for the proper amount of time. Passing a urine test. Recognize that urine tests are the most common drug test. If your employer requires a drug test, it is likely that you will be providing a urine sample. In rarer cases, an employer may also require a blood, saliva, or hair test. A urine test may be done privately, in a bathroom stall at a laboratory, or it might be observed by a laboratory employee. 1. Provide a list of your medications. False positive drug tests are very rare in licensed, reputable laboratories. However, certain prescription medications, over-the-counter drugs, and herbal remedies can be mistaken for drugs of abuse in drug tests. For example, some decongestants might lead to a positive drug test for amphetamines. 2. In order to ensure that your drug test does not provide a false positive, make a thorough list of all your medications and provide the list to your employer, along with any supporting documentation required. Know what drugs are tested for in the 5-panel test. Urine tests can detect a variety of substances in your system. The particular drugs tested for are depend on a variety of factors, your personal or legal history, the requirements of your job, legal guidelines, or the occurrence of workplace accidents might all affect the specific drugs your employer chooses to test for. However, the most commonly administered drug test is the 5-panel urine test. 3. Most 5-panel tests detect the following drugs. 4. Marijuana, cocaine, opiates, phencyclidine, PCP, amphetamines. Know what other drugs are tested for. While the 5-panel test is the most common, some employers or legal personnel might choose to add other drugs to their screening. They might add testing for any or all of the following substances. 5. Alcohol, MDMA, ecstasy, barbiturates, propoxyphene, benzodiazepines. Know how long drugs remain in your system. A urine test does not test your sobriety at the exact moment at which you provided the sample. Instead, it tests your past use of drugs over the past few days or even weeks. Habitual drug users often have higher concentrations of the drug in their systems than occasional drug users. For this reason, habitual drug users may test positively for drugs even after being sober for several days or weeks. 6. Other factors might affect the concentration of drugs in your system, such as your metabolism, quality and amount of drugs taken, hydration levels, and overall health. In general, however, you can expect a urine test to detect drugs for the following times. 7. Amphetamine, 2 days. Barbiturates, 2 days 3 weeks. Benzodiazepines, 3 days, therapeutic dose, 4-6 weeks, habitual use. Cocaine, 4 days. Ecstasy, 2 days. Heroin, 2 days. Marijuana, 2-7 days, single use, 1-2+ months, habitual use. Methamphetamine, 2 days. Morphine, 2 days. PCP, 8-14 days, single use, 30 days, chronic users. Discontinue drug use for the proper amount of time. The only surefire way to pass a drug test is not to use drugs, especially when you are in the testing window. In some cases, you might know in advance when the test will take place. In other cases, however, you might not have any warning. In that case, consider whether your circumstances will make it likely for you to be tested for drugs in the near future. For example, discontinue drug use if you are on the job market, are on probation, are in a profession that requires occasional random drug testing. Avoid spiking or masking the urine sample. This is a method used to throw off testing equipment from seeing certain results. Commercial and over-the-counter chemicals containing nitrates were once used to mask THC, the active drug in the marijuana plant, but are now commonly tested for. These products are all detectable, and will result automatically in a failed drug screen. 8. Consider the risks of diluting the sample. Dilution is the process of reducing the concentration of drug or drug metabolites in the sample. This is accomplished by adding fluid to the sample. Drug testing laboratories all routinely test samples to detect dilution. 9. One method of diluting the sample involves adding liquid to urine. However, the temperature of the urine is measured by drug tests, and diluted urine is easily detected. 10. Another method of diluting the sample is to flush your system by drinking excessive amounts of water. However, drinking excessive amounts of water can be dangerous. People have died from water intoxication, and risky because colorless urine arouses suspicion, possibly flagging the sample. You will likely be asked to provide another sample after a few hours, which will not be enough time for your body to rid itself of drug traces. 11. Provide cleaner urine in your sample. While excessive flushing will likely lead to a failed urine test, you may be able to slightly lower the concentration of THC in your urine if you are well hydrated. For those who have not used marijuana for several days, this might make a significant difference in your drug test result. In order to provide an optimal urine sample, you can. 12. Drink 3-4 glasses of water the morning of your test. Pee at least twice before providing a urine sample. Your early morning urine will have the highest concentration of drugs in your system. Give your body some time to flush these chemicals out, and never use your first pee of the day in a drug test. Drink a coffee or caffeinated soda. Caffeine is a mild diuretic, which can help your body flush out fluids more quickly. Take some aspirin. The science is shaky, but some studies have reported that aspirin can help mask certain chemicals detected by a drug test. Take 4 aspirin a few hours before your test if you are worried about your results. It might not help, but most people can take aspirin safely, without any harmful side effects. 13. Aspirin can be dangerous for those on blood thinners, however. Be sure that you read all package instructions and warnings before taking aspirin. Consider the risks of substituting the sample. Substitution is a method that involves substituting your urine with that of another person's or a synthetic sample. There are many companies that sell devices for urine substitution over the internet, as well as companies that sell synthetic urine. Be aware that defrauding the urine test might be a crime. In many states, it is illegal to substitute someone else's urine for your own. This could be considered an act of criminal fraud, and you might be putting your job, employment, or legal status at risk. Consider carefully whether it is worth the risk to attempt to defraud a urine test. 14. Synthetic urine comes in 2 basic forms, the liquid type found in smoke shops that is similar to what is used to calibrate lab equipment, or vials of a powdered concentrate that can be added to a few ounces of warm water. Both are kept in a delivery device with a temperature meter. One of the challenges of urine substitution is ensuring that the urine remains at a normal body temperature, 91-97 degrees Fahrenheit. Some labs are now testing for synthetic urine. For your legal protection, it is critical that you do not use this method for any government tests including military, civil service, and especially probation. The liquid pre-mixed urine has a couple of drawbacks as it doesn't have a head or small layer of bubbles on the surface and it has no smell. Powdered synthetic urine does. Many labs and collection sites will reject your specimen if they suspect it is synthetic and ask you to urinate under direct observation. Substituting another person's urine might also be risky, since it is possible that they will not pass the drug test either. Urine also darkens over time, and bacteria can grow, contaminating the sample. If deterioration becomes noticeable, the lab may suspect something. Do not use drugs after passing a urine test. In some cases, An employer or parole officer might ask for a retest of your urine. Do not celebrate a past drug test by using drugs, you might simply fail the next one. Be patient, and make sure that your results were believed before taking any further action. Tips. By far the best way to pass a drug test is to refrain from all use of drugs. Failing complete abstinence, refraining from drugs for 1 week 3 months prior to testing is usually sufficient to pass most drug tests. Be aware of the most common drug testing scenarios. If you are in a job where you operate vehicles or heavy machinery, you might be required to get tested more often. If you are on the job market, many new employers will ask that you take a drug test upon accepting a job offer. Many persons on probation or parole are expected to take routine drug tests. If you use marijuana for medical purposes in a state where such a practice is legal, consult an employment attorney about your options. The legal implications of this are still in flux. 38. Warnings. Be very cautious when ordering miracle products over the internet. Most have not been clinically tested, and they can be quite expensive. While some anecdotal evidence claims that they work, there is no guarantee that they will be effective. Trying to fool a drug test might lead to extra personal and legal repercussions and could be considered fraud in some states. Do not drink too much water to fool a urine test. Drink enough water to be well hydrated, but do not poison yourself by drinking gallons of water. That is dangerous, and your drug test will likely be flagged for dilution and you will have to take another one anyway. Do not consume anything poisonous, like bleach, in order to fool a drug test. It will not work, and it could be very harmful to your health.